Hey everyone, I want to welcome to the Real Strength Podcast a wonderful man that I love. His name is Larry Auth. And Larry has been 34 years in the hotel industry, all the while practicing good health and keeping himself strong, spirit, soul, and body. He's one of the founders of the Game On Sports Complex here in Fort Worth, Texas, designed to help people with mobility and strength, just a wonderful, wonderful facility to help people experience health. In the next segment of his life, he plans on devoting himself connecting with other entrepreneurs to find natural solutions to health issues. Get ready, lean in, take some notes. Larry Auth on the Real Strength Podcast.
Disciples of Jesus look to the future. Listen to me, vision without action is merely a dream. Action without vision is a waste of time, and vision with action can change the whole world. He will speak to you. The question is, are you listening?
All right, welcome to our podcast, Real Strength. We're so excited that you're tuning in. We are in our series on physical health, and to do the intros, I'm going to pass to my dad for our introductions.
Ooh, that was quick. Okay, so every human being is comprised of three parts. Spirit, which if you're a Christ follower, has been redeemed. Same spirit that raised Christ Jesus from the dead dwells within us. Soul, and by the way, this is the order that it's in Scripture. And your soul is your mind, will, and emotions. You find that in 1 Thessalonians 5 and Hebrews 6. And then your body. And quite often in our world today, the body is the third part of our triune being is the part that's underemphasized, more so, I think, than overemphasized. And so part of having real strength as a Christ follower, obviously you got divine life within you. You've got the help of God within you, so your thoughts can change, your emotions can change, all toward good and all toward God. But quite often we stop there and we don't take that change to our body, our earth suit. And so the Scripture is clear that bodily exercise does profit. It gives a little bit of a profit. Nothing compared to godliness. I mean, bodily exercise can't do for your mind, your soul, your spirit like what the Word of God can, but it helps, and it's important. And all too often, of the three, the body is the one that breaks Christ followers down from living in real strength. Living, the old phrase used to be abundant life out of John 10. And so my mission, my hope, and Larry, you're one of the ones that helps me on this, is to learn better how to do better with our earth suit.
Yeah.
Because we're in this until it's changed. And so,
fair.
Avoiding disease, avoiding pain as much as we can,
Right.
especially the contamination in our world. So real strength today is the body of the three and dealing with just stuff that people have.
Right.
So,
And you've worked through a lot, so your perspective is coming from a stance of dealing with health issues that have held you back, and you're working through staying strong so they don't hold you back. But then we have our special guest, Larry Auth, with us today. And I love your perspective that you're going to offer to this podcast. You're a leader, you're a businessman, you're a family man, you're good with your community, you invest in people, you value people, and you value the Lord. And you've made, I like to say, you've made health your hobby, but I like to say biohacking nerd. I love when we get caught off on our little side tangents and I get to catch up on all this information that you've been downloading for months, and you kind of give us the short code that you send those emails to me and Grace and the crew about what you're learning now and how it's helping your health. I love that. I'm also into the nerdy side of podcasting and biohacking and understanding how God gave us a body that can heal. Right. It's one of the coolest new truths to physical health in this last year and a half for me has been understanding God created a regenerative body.
Right.
And if that's the case, then how can we help our body, which is in a constant state of being broken down, stay regenerated physically so we can stay strong? So thank you, Larry, for being on our podcast.
Thank you.
Excited to be here. Thank you.
That
I don't know if Grace and Lane, my kids, would say the same about getting the emails and all that, but thank you for being one that actually likes to get the emails and the conversations.
Yeah, no, me and Grace were catching up the other day, and she was like, do you get them like every single week? And I'm like, no, I just get them ever so often, like the really good ones. She's like, I can't keep up. I was like, you will one day, though. You'll catch up, and you'll be all, informed on how to really invest in your health. But
Fair.
So we three met at a place called Athletic Performance, AP, Enhancement Center. Did I get it right?
Yes.
That's
we're going
what
to
that
run with
means?
that.
Yeah, we'll run with that.
Okay.
And so, Larry, one of the founders and owners
Yes.
of it,
Yes, sir.
obviously you take health seriously.
I do.
Help us.
I don't know about help. For my whole life, obviously health and wellness has been a part of it, but it's more been on the workout side. And I think that's what a lot of us are programmed to do between sports, activities, and things of that nature. And it wasn't until I had a couple aha moments for me, and you kind of summed it up at the beginning, to be frank with you. So for me, kind of going through life, I ate whatever I could eat in front of me. McDonald's, fast food, bad water, bad this and that. And then all of a sudden,
Energy drinks?
I'm not gonna lie, I had a few energy drinks
Okay.
back in the day.
Okay, I don't feel so bad now.
But on the flip side, growing up, I came from a divorced family. So one side was all the processed food, and the other side, Dad had a garden out back and would eat a fresh salad every Friday night and Saturday, and would eat liver and onions. And I'm
Ooh.
like,
Ooh, that's devotion.
but I always felt really good after I ate Friday, Saturday, and Sunday dinner. But Monday through Thursday didn't feel so good, right? Didn't put two and two together back at that time. Fast forward, I'm in Bible study. I'm probably in my late 20s. My wife and I are in Bible study, and we rotated books and rotated conversations. And actually brought the book because it was one of those things, like one of those aha moments for me. And I grew up in a household where 10 commandments, don't do this, that's where the Bible was for me, right? And the book was
Let's see it.
what the Bible says about healthy eating.
Good.
Okay?
Cool.
What do we need to get that on camera? Right there.
Done. Can you see it? Perfect. So this is probably, I don't want to date myself, 25 years ago, 26 years ago,
Hey,
because
if
Grace
it's
probably
good, it's
wasn't
good.
born. And we went through and we read this, and my wife's like, yeah, whatever, that's fine. But for me, it resonated on so many levels, because I thought to myself, okay, body's a temple. God's telling me to take care of my body. And I've been avoiding this my whole life. So I've gone through scripture about learning, treat others this way, do these sorts of things, but I never really took it as take care of my body to help
Right.
other people
Right.
and help my family, not be a burden. And so I started to read through this, and it literally is a blueprint. And I never really thought about it before. Everything you're supposed to do and not do is in there. It tells you what to eat, good. It tells you what not to eat, bad.
Good.
Right? And so I would go things like catfish. So my kids were like, why are we eating catfish anymore? I go, because it's a bottom feeder. We can't have catfish anymore, right? Never thought about it, right? And so why are we not eating pork? I'm like, well, there's a reason people don't eat pork, and let's go through the reasons, right? It's a bottom feeder, all that kind of. So we would go through all these different things, and so the kids heard all these things growing up. So their whole life was my second chapter where I started to do these things, right? And so it became experiments in the family. And experiments on a lot of levels. And the one that I think resonates with me is we let the kids eat healthy the first couple of years. Then grandparents got a hold of them. Grandparents are bad people. Kidding. They're great people. A lot of candy, a lot of sugar, right? And all of a sudden the kids were getting sick all the time. We were getting sinus infections and I didn't even put two and two together. And so fast forward 3 years later, I said, hey, we're going to start going healthy again. We're getting back on the healthy train for the kids. From 5 years old until they were in college, kids never got sick one day.
Oh, wow.
And it blew my mind that they could go from one extreme to the other and then back to the other, going back to your point about the body healing itself. And I never really put two and two together. And then here I am now, 25 years later, and I don't know how many thousands of hours of podcasts and books and all that stuff. But the body can truly heal itself. And I
Yes.
think that's what God kind of teaches us. Like, it can truly heal itself top to bottom. But we don't see that because of modern medicine. But it's healed itself all the time. And I can give you thousands of examples, but it's really, really interesting.
So God designed our bodies to heal themselves. Okay. How does that begin? How does that, what give some steps for the listening audience on how to get started into that?
Yeah, that's a tough one. And I say that it's easy once you're there. It's hard to get started, myself included. Going backwards in time, there are so many things that are going to pull us out. Let's just say social society. We're going to go out with our friends, and you have to eat out in certain restaurants. You're
Right.
going to, you go out to on vacation. Bree's with us on vacation before, and there's only certain things you can get from the grocery store,
Right.
whatever the case may be. So you're not really around fresh vegetables, fresh fruits, all this stuff. And I think the biggest piece, looking back, the simplest thing I always tell people, start with one or two things. Like, I give Bree in a download probably like 20 levels deep because I know she can do it now, right?
And she loves that.
And I can't
do.
do that with friends that I'm just now having first conversation or second conversation with them because I lose them. I lose them in the first 5 minutes. And so it's like start with the basics, one or two things. Like get moving. It doesn't have to be working out. You don't have to go to the gym. Just get up and take a walk each day, right? Or each night or whatever the case may be. Pray and meditate has got to be in the top two for me. You got to get up and have a steady routine there. And then bring simple things into the diet and get rid of certain things. So if you can eat, I mean, there's so many things. There's keto, there's vegan. They're all, to me, a big promo. And so to me, going back to what does the Bible say? If you just eat what the Bible says is to eat, fresh vegetables, fresh fruits, and meats, you're going to be golden. But it's getting there and creating an environment to start with that. And so my wife and I'll give you an example. I used to have a cookie fetish. Probably still say I do if it was in the house. And so we had to create an environment where that stuff wasn't in the house. So it's okay. Go to the grocery store. Do not buy one cookie this day. Just you're going to get for which. So now we've both gone to like 100% dark chocolate. So if we want that little bit, we grab that little bite, So anyway.
So you didn't do like a recreate the cookie in a healthy way approach? You just got rid of the cookies?
We've tried both.
And the healthy cookie was no-go?
Because then I found myself, and I think most of us do this, you'll have 20 cookies. Right? I think we have an overindulging mindset, a lot of us.
We got
right?
a big head nod from James. He's like, yes.
Yeah, the guy behind the computer back there is going, yes, if there's cookies available, I'm going to eat them all.
See, for me, I feel like the way I'm wired a little differently is I enjoy finding, like, how can I still partake in the simple pleasures of life, but it not be a detriment to my health? I think about the Ecclesiastes approach a little bit. So for me, the adventure of finding a way to enjoy something like a cookie, and I know to all of my friends who have had my healthy cookies, they're like, this is not a cookie. But for me, it is a cookie.
What's in it?
Coconut flour. Sometimes I'll use like a walnut butter or something, or just regular butter, and then dark chocolate. Maybe if I'm gonna sweeten it, which a lot of times I don't, but maybe like a date or a little bit of maple syrup, cinnamon, and then egg white, and I can whisk that and bake it. And it's all of those things individually I eat in different ways, So it's like, why not put it together and make a cookie out of it?
Maybe some honey. Maybe you'll sweeten with coconut sugar.
I have in the past. It's only if I'm baking will I use coconut sugar.
Maybe
but
you'll
anyways,
sweeten with monk fruit.
that could be a tangent. Anyway, so I think that there are two approaches. There is
Agreed.
the some people are wired to just having it around is not good for me, but other people are maybe wired differently. What do you think about that?
I could not agree more. I think, and that's the other piece too, is going back to that keto versus vegan piece. I think every person's different. And we try and put people in a box and say, well, if we all did this, and there's not one approach, all three of us are going to be totally different in what feeds our body and nourishes our body.
Yeah. There's a Christian doctor, I forgot his name, but he wrote a book, Eating for Your Blood Type. Have you ever
I've read that too.
seen that one,
Yes.
heard it? What do you think about it? Was that good info?
Great info. And matter of fact, again, the kids have heard this one too. I think that one is spot on too, if you kind of read it. And there's several different books out there like that. Another one, probably getting too much now. I'm starting to go down a path I told myself I wouldn't go down. But it's kind of like, have you ever done your DNA? We talked about this before.
Yeah.
And you do your DNA, and then you figure out what is your methylation pathways and what certain things you should eat or not eat or shouldn't do. Because I may need certain B vitamins and you may not need them, right? But guess what? We go to the doctor, and he or she gives us all B vitamins or all vitamin D, but maybe we don't need them, right? And so going back to that blood type, I do actually follow that to a portion for myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
We did for a while as also.
I've also experimented on Dad. When it comes to health, you said you experimented on the family. I experiment on you sometimes. Actually, all the time.
Yes, I was going to say, sometimes is not accurate.
Yeah. I'll send Mom like recipes and thoughts and just different articles or whatever. I'm like, what if we change the plug-in Glade things at the house for essential oil ones instead? And what if we change the detergent? I'm just constantly sending her stuff as I'm learning to help be a part of the little step journey with them. Because you're right, I'm probably too far deep down the rabbit hole, but I love being a part of the journey with our family. And so it's fun. All my sisters are in different spots. My family is in different spots. It's just fun to like pick their brain and see where they are.
Right.
Some are in that full like non-toxic cleaning. Some are in kind of a mix of both, and then others are just don't care. So it's just a different, which that's another rabbit hole, is toxins in the environment that come against our health.
We could sit here all day with that one.
Yeah.
Going back to that though, I'm an analytical person. My wife's the creative arts. So I catch her. So now we have a rule. I'll teach her one thing maybe every day and a half because she's like, you're going to lose me. So I'm like, today's topic is, and she's like, okay, you got 30 seconds, go.
Today's topic is.
Maybe I'll start trying that with your mom.
Maybe I should try it with you.
Which one am I? I'm the logical. You're the creative.
I know, it's weird how this gets flipped around. I know. It's very confusing.
Okay, so to recap so far,
Yes, sir.
the way you practice healthy, real strength, you said you start the day spirit first.
Yes, sir.
The word, prayer, worship, something. Then you move.
Yes.
So you go to some sort of activity. And then your overall lifestyle for health is food, environment, water. You're just careful with what you put in the temple.
Yes. And again, it's been a journey. I mean, to sit here and say it started day one, no, it's a lifelong journey, right? Just like our spiritual walk is. And it's constant, and it's surrounding yourself with people that are similar and like-minded to kind of keep you in that
pursuing.
same. Yeah. So prayer right out of bed, before I get out of bed, then meditation, and then yes, movement every day, every morning. And I'll try and do it multiple times throughout the day, and then trying to make sure I hate use the word meal prep, but try and meal prep to get myself focused for the day.
We've got a lot of folks watching and listening that need some ideas along that line. Otherwise, it's just, what am I going to eat? I'm hungry. Right. And so then it's the wrong foods at the wrong time to fill the void that shouldn't be there.
Right.
So if they would have started out right and had nutrition and had ingredients that they needed, then that afternoon binge or that bedtime binge wouldn't need to happen.
Yeah, okay, we can go on a lot of rabbit holes on that one. The biggest one for me, the learnings over the years, the simple learnings, protein will fill that void so many times. It gives you the energy, doesn't make you hungry. If you can get a healthy fat in there. What do I mean by that? Some people do nuts. I like to do things like bone broth, right? At night, I'll have a teaspoon of coconut oil before I go to bed. Why? Gives the body just a little bit of nutrients. So as you sleep through the night, you're not waking up in the middle of the night, possibly. But all those little biohack, I call it human optimization. We'll call it different things.
I like human optimization better than biohack.
Biohack to me feels like a marketing term these days.
It's just a slang. It's a slang thing. It's the same thing, but it's the way everyone else is relating to it.
Just say it again. Let's do the better one.
Human optimization.
Human optimization.
Which is what people who are like in this realm, in this conversation, understand and would like, to be referred to as. But I feel like everyone else outside of this conversation is like, oh, the biohacking crew, because they all kind of lump into the same biohacking crew. And there are some people that are just a little bit too zealous and polarizing, and then others that are more well-rounded in their approach, which is hard. It's hard to navigate the myriad of opinions and people that really feel passionately about their stance on something. And I'm not trying to say you can't have passion and be, a full of conviction and excited about what you're learning, but there are so many voices out there that are causing one group to not demonize, but essentially make an enemy out of another. And you're like, okay, well, that doesn't help us have a balanced, study of the health for your different seasons of life. So how do you manage? I mean, you said you've had like hundreds of hours, you've read books, you deep dive often. How do you manage deciphering through the myriad of opinions without getting swept into one of them?
That is the $1 million question. So I'll start backwards, and you've heard this from me. I do zero social media. Really don't watch TV. I'd rather spend the time learning. I love to learn, and I didn't know that about myself until I got older. My dad always read, and I was like, oh, that looks so boring, and now I'm like, oh, I love it, and I'm obsessed with it. But going back to is if somebody says a topic, like, let me give you an example. Somebody says, okay, you need to drink pure water. Okay, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Right? And then you'll have all these marketing terms and all these different companies trying to sell you something. So because of that, you get down a rabbit hole. And so I always go 3 to 4 and sometimes 6 or 7 layers deep. And I always want to do research from different sources. So I'll do medical journals. I'll do a lot of podcasts, but then from gentlemen and ladies that I trust. And that's taken a while to get to them be trust, because nowadays folks on podcasts are getting paid to
Yeah.
give their opinion.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or that they're promoting something.
Correct.
And we're not, so you can trust us.
Trust us. So,
Yeah.
so I always try and go several layers deep to try and understand. And then the other big piece is how is it going to affect a 50-something-year-old man versus a 20-something-year-old person, right? Because at different levels, at different ages, it's affecting people differently.
Right.
Going back to my protein comment, right?
Yeah.
I never knew. I thought, oh, we're all supposed to eat protein. Okay, I'm going to give you a nerd fact. 0.4 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So that's for a young person. For an older person, not that you and I are old, but we're older.
I'm a lot older than you.
0.6 grams, right? So we actually are supposed to have more protein, right? And then an athlete's up to 1.5. Well, that's some people, that could be 60, 90, 100 grams of protein a day. And people
Yeah.
don't think like that. And then if we have to fill some of them, so what do we do? We start to fill that hunger with empty calories. So we start to do the cookies or the donuts or whatever because the body's saying, I need to be filled, right?
Yep.
So a lot of protein, which is why I go back to the bone broth. You can't go wrong with broth. I used to think it was crazy. My grandparents ate sardines. Now I'm a huge sardine guy. My kids think I'm gross, but you're getting connective tissue. I'm telling you too much. You're getting collagen.
No.
You're getting all these things, you know.
So are you a mustard or oil guy?
I just do straight water, pure water sardines in natural water, and that's it. And I just eat them raw. So nothing with them.
Maybe I need to try that.
Would you try that?
Sure, I'd try anything. I want to have good health. We
Yes.
can get to that if you want to, but okay. So keeping it systematic,
Systematic.
for
Yeah.
helping an
Routine.
audience that needs help in the third area of our triune being. Spirit, soul, most are doing pretty good. Body is where the biggest amount of problems are.
Fair.
So the way you start your day is great, and you're a lifetime learner. You're continuing to learn and listen and develop the ways in which you can keep the temple healthy.
Yes.
And you eat some things and not others. You're not so. I think I know that book, or there's one close to it that. When was that? In the 80s, it was really, really popular. So 40 years ago, and it affected me and my mom.
Did it?
And eating God's way, maybe something like that.
Okay.
It had a lot of, and don't quote me on the book because I can't remember, but it had a lot of condemnation. In other words, you don't eat pork because it's banned in the law.
Sure.
You don't eat scavenger fish because it's banned in the law. You only eat fins and scales, yada yada yada.
Choose from the cud, all that kind of stuff. Yep.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. Which to make it legalistic, to me, is never going to work.
Yeah, it's still a miss.
It's a miss.
yeah.
So understanding the health perspective, though. So, for example, if I'm in in Mexico or Ethiopia or somewhere like that, who knows what they're serving us?
Right.
But Paul said, "Eat what's set before you." So it's those times where I just pray and ask the Lord, "Please cover and anoint this." They say it's that the noodles in the stew are the intestines from the goat. Lord, did they boil them enough? If they didn't, can you cover over this? Because if I don't eat it, I'm the pastor. It's going to cause a great offense.
Sure.
Surprisingly enough, it wasn't that bad. Now, did it give me parasites? Who knows?
Right.
So anyway, backing off, that was a rabbit. That was we went down a hole in that one. But backing
Yeah.
off from too many details, where would somebody start? So they're reading their Bible. They're going to start moving. They're going to perhaps eat for their blood type. They're going to read good, godly Christian help books on this, healthy living. But what would be the first? Give us the first step. Would you eliminate sugar? Would you eliminate caffeine? Would you beyond embracing more protein?
Sure.
So take another step there.
If it's hard to jump all the way to this, but if you can shop at the ends of the grocery store, I always say, hit the fresh meats and hit the fresh vegetables and fruits, and don't buy anything out of a package. That's like utopia. It's hard to get there. It's hard to get there, especially when you have maybe 4 kids and you're running from practice to practice. You're like, how am I going to do this? But again, it's having a structured plan. Like, we used to pack the kids with apples versus what, it's those types of thought processes is how do I have my home filled with things that are going to nourish the body. Now, I'd be naive to say you're going to go in day one and start and clean the house out and throw everything out.
Which
Okay?
a lot of people try.
Try. So I'll give you I'll go down a quick rabbit hole, but my mother-in-law moved in with us, okay? Hopefully she doesn't mind me sharing this story. I just just came to me, so I'm going to share it. She was in her 70s, ate fast food and processed everything her entire life. That's the way she was raised, right? She's in her late 70s now. Great human. And when she moved in with us, she filled up our pantry's empty. And so people come over and they're like, I'm like, we don't eat stuff that's processed anymore, so our pantry's empty, right? So she fills the entire pantry top to bottom. And you name it, it was in there. It was hysterical.
Twinkies?
Oh my goodness, it was unbelievable. So we didn't judge. It's like, it's her life, right? So first thing she says to me is, I don't feel so hot. And I go, this is like the first 24 hours she's living with me. She says, I'm going to go see my doctor. Her doctor's 2 hours away. That's where she lives, and she's getting her house remodeled. And I said, well, are you always sick? And she says, oh, my stomach hurts all the time. This hurts all the time. That hurts all the time. And I said, okay, I got an idea. Why don't you try a couple things that I'm going to put you on? We're going to start the basics at the beginning, kind of like we just talked about. And I said, if you feel better, when's your next doctor's appointment? She says 8 weeks. I go, if you feel better in 8 weeks, and her liver count was real high. And I go, if your liver count goes down just a hair, you got to start to change to our lifestyle. But if it doesn't change in those 8 weeks, you can do whatever you want. So I was gambling.
Wow.
I'm not going to lie to you, but
You
I'm
were-
a
you were
calculated
good.
risk.
You were willing to offer, we'll change to your lifestyle?
I didn't
Just
say
let
that one,
you
actually.
Stay on your path.
So I said to her, wake up each morning, right? Prayer, meditate. Have a cup of warm water with a lemon. Why? Flushes the liver first thing, okay? So she started to do that. And then I said, get up and walk, okay? And I had too much information. I have these liver pills, things like milk thistle, stuff like that, helps clean the liver out. Because that's where a lot of her pain was deriving from, right? And the body, like we talked about a minute ago, the body is amazing. It can truly heal itself. It regenerates every couple of days. And people don't think like that, right? We cut our skin, it heals. We break a bone, it heals. But we don't think we can heal our eyes. We don't think we can heal an organ. No, we can heal all that stuff. And now this is way too deep, and I'm not, and I feel bad for people that are in the States, so please don't take this the wrong way. 97% of cancers are from the environment. 3% are hereditary. People think it's the opposite, right? And so we're up there of the generation where she's like, well, I'm going to get cancer here. I'm like, no, you're not. I said, you're going to be good. So she changes up her life, does those simple couple things. She goes to the doctor, and she had the same liver count for 20 years. She comes back, and she's like, oh my goodness, they had to retest me 3 times today. And I go, what happened? She's like, it went down so much.
Wow.
And I went, awesome. So over the next 6 weeks, without us knowing, she is analytical like me. So she started reading books and podcasts. She started getting trying to figure out what was going to change her life.
Wow.
She lost 80 pounds living with us. Looks phenomenal. All her pains went away. That was the biggest piece for me, is all her pains went away.
She's full of inflammation.
But here's the kicker, that your organs, without getting too deep, are associated with emotions. So liver, anger. So she was angry and short and bitter and all this stuff. Well, she cleaned her liver out, and guess what? She was happy all the time. And so she's laughing with us at night and cutting up, and we're like, goodness, you see her demeanor change? And so fast forward, we come home one day, and she's having dinner with us, and we're having fish, and we're having some vegetables, and I said, oh, you're liking this lifestyle? I said, what did you have for breakfast and stuff? She says, oh, no, I'm fasting 22 hours a day. I go, excuse me? She says, I've been fasting 22 hours a day for the last 6 weeks since I learned your little methods here. And that's what was making her lose the weight and all this other stuff. So there's different ways to get there, right? And so going back to what's the magic bullet, hers, she kind of created on her own. We had a couple small steps to start her off. And that's where I go back to, each person's different, right? Because you may already be eating pretty healthy or but you're not moving, right? And other people may be doing the moving piece, but they're not eating right. And so I just think it's creating an environment with your kids and stuff where you have the right stuff in the home. And even if it's an 80-20 rule, 70-30, 90-10, you don't have to have everything perfect, right?
Yeah, good.
And probably shouldn't stress, because then you would err into the side of legalism. And just performing through health, which is not good. But I have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the newest thing you've learned in the last week or so that you're now implementing into your personal health?
Last week or so.
Just because I know it's so frequent.
I learn a lot. What's been my last 2 topics? Let's see. My last 2 topics I got. So you want me to go deep for a second?
Sure.
Oxalates. You know what oxalates are?
Yes.
What are oxalates?
I'm thinking it's the toxic side of some vegetables.
It's the toxic side of vegetables, and it's in nuts, and it's in actually cocoa.
Is
So
it?
oxalates are in several things, and so there are several doctors and schools of thought out there that think oxalates will not only mess with certain parts of your body, but really mess with your microbiome, which is
Okay.
your stomach, your
Yeah.
gut health, and all that stuff. And so we as a society, so let's just say I'm eating healthy and I eat a handful of nuts, a bunch of dark chocolate, spinach. I'm trying to think of everything else that's going to have it.
Cocoa.
Cocoa, yeah, but there's like probably 6 or 7 things that I was eating daily in my diet that are high oxalate, right? So now all of a sudden your body can flush stuff out if it's given in small doses. But we gorge as a society, right? We eat a lot in the short one. So I was eating certain things that were high oxalate based, not realizing that was affecting my microbiome as much as I was. So now it's okay, how do I spread this stuff out? Now, there's some people that just totally get rid of it.
Yeah.
And there's others that have a balanced approach. I'm not going to give up dark chocolate.
Yeah,
I'm not going to give up spinach, right? I just now do it. I just try not to do it all together. The other big thing I shouldn't say I've done this, but now I've gotten back into it the last couple weeks, is connective tissue. So we get so big on protein, and protein, we all need it, but I'm a big believer in a lot of stuff I've done the research on is we need that connective tissue. So we need the bone broth, we need the sardines, certain types of fishes. I would never eat pork rinds, but people eat pork rinds. Like, how do you get that connective tissue? It helps with brain health, and it helps obviously connective tissue in our own body, right? And so if you're getting it from those sources versus just pure protein, the body can break it down and digest it better. And then it helps with so many other things, which I could, again, go down a rabbit hole. So
That's exactly what I thought that conversation would be like. That question, I thought it would cue something really deep, and I really wanted to pull that out.
Oxalates.
Oxalates, yeah. I just read something about it being on one of the... I've heard about it in the realms of plant food, but I've heard about it specifically to a vegetable that I was eating often, and I was like, oh, I wonder if I should do some more research on how much. Because a lot of it, like you were saying, dark chocolate, there's a pro and a con to everything you eat. And one thing I tell people... when they ask me, like, well, where do I start my diet? Because that feels like the easiest thing, I think, because everybody has to eat to live.
Yeah.
And some people move a little bit more organically in their job than others do. So it feels like movement can be an easy add a couple times a week, but you eat every day. So it feels like everybody's asking, how do I eat better first? And then I'll get to the rest of it. And so I just tell people, you can go into any different school of thought, read any research paper you want, and keep learning and growing and developing what's going to work for your body. But keep in mind, both plants and animals suffered in the fall. So you can find a flaw and an issue in a carnivore diet and a keto diet and a plant-based diet. There's going to be pros and cons to everything, but you have to eat to live. You can't just not eat for your whole life. You will die. It's called starvation. So I tell people to not get so caught up in, well, this has this and then that has this, and they get so bogged down with those details. It's like, no, let the Spirit lead you and guide you as you're discerning what food you need and how to make wise decisions and wise, not experiments, but, gambles with different things you're trying out for your health. Let the Spirit be a part of that journey with you, because, there isn't going to be a perfect vegetable that doesn't have a downside, or a perfect meat that doesn't have a downside. There just isn't. They're both broken.
So you've hit to our, if I could add one thing, and you're saying like on a pattern or what's a good routine. The biggest piece I've tried to teach the kids, because it took me a long time to get there, is using prayer. So let's just say for a long time my stomach would hurt, and I had digestive issues for years. Thank goodness I don't anymore. And so for years I had that kind of stuff. Well, but what I would do is I was eating the right things, but in whose eyes, right? Because I'm supposed to eat this, I'm supposed to do that. So then I started to get and go, if I'm going to truly follow the Bible and what I eat, I then need to pray about it. So I would pray during the day, go into meditation, and it happens still to this day, I'll wake up in the middle of the night, and I'm telling you, he's talking to me, and I'll go, stop eating that. And I'll stop eating it, the next day I feel better. My stomach feels better. All the time. It happens all the time.
See, we love that.
And it happens, and so that took me the longest time to get to that mindset. So now, instead of worrying about it, I put it up to him and say, okay, great. My stomach's hurting this week. What did I do differently? I'll try and think through it. I try and overanalyze. Can't think about it, pray about it. All of a sudden, boom, pops in my head. And I'm like, there we go. So I'm going to get off that this week. And it changes. Yeah. And so I tell the kids, it's always in front of you. You just got to continue to open your mind to it. So
that's awesome.
And your body's changing too. Like, there are things that maybe didn't hurt before that start to, and that being tuned to the Spirit helps you adjust in a timely way.
Okay, so we've picked up eating the right things, finding out what's right for you. Let's do a in or out for Larry Auth.
Uh-oh.
In or out. White sugar,
Out.
brown sugar,
Out.
maple syrup.
Possibly on vacation if it's from the right source.
Okay. Honey.
Caveat.
Yes. In.
Honey's in?
Honey's in.
Any kind?
Not any kind. It's going to have to usually be local. But
Okay. So local honey, so you're getting the benefits of the pollen and the propolis and my dad's a beekeeper and the jelly, the royal jelly from around, which helps your immune system.
like you said,
right?
royal jelly. Nobody knows what that is. That's good.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Not the tastiest if you don't. But it's good.
Yeah, you got to mix it in. Now, do you use raw honey?
We do. Yes.
Do you get comb or raw honey?
We'll buy the raw honey already done. Yeah.
Okay.
That's my wife and I shouldn't say lazy. That's not the right word. We try and make things as easy as possible.
Okay.
That's probably the best way to say it.
Okay. So let me keep
Sustainable.
going. Let me keep going on the sweeteners. Coconut sugar.
Yes.
In?
Sorry. Yes.
Erythritol. In or out?
Out.
That's a man-made one. What am I missing?
I try not to do anything man-made. That's really what it boils down to.
Yeah.
I try.
So
Again,
it's
we're
natural.
human. So if I'm going over your house tonight and your wife made great cookies or Brie made great cookies, I'm probably going to partake.
Yeah.
I'll probably tell you what's in them,
Yeah.
so you can decide.
So what else on the sugar side, Brie, that
Monk
we
fruit,
have? Monk
stevia.
fruit.
Yes.
Monk
in.
fruit.
Monk fruit in.
Stevia.
Out.
Out because it comes from the ragweed plant. Most people don't know that. Pay attention. You can have allergies tearing you up, and it might be because you're using stevia. Your drinks are low cal, and so they just took out the refined sugar and put stevia in, and then you're wondering why you're snotting and sneezing all the time because your body's reacting. It's the sugar from the ragweed plant. All right.
Yes, I am not going to go down this rabbit hole, but I will keep going back to the body can heal itself. I used to have sinus infections 3 times a year. I used to get sick. I do not get sick, knock on wood. I haven't had a sinus infection in years. And it was the littlest thing. And allergies are pretty much non-existent. And then when I would go in, they would go to me, "Oh, my goodness, you're allergic to these 80 things." I'm like, "I am? Oh my goodness."
I'm allergic to 110.
But I'm not now. Because the body can heal itself.
Okay, so what?
And that's
Yes.
a deep conversation. Like I could be here
Yes.
for hours, but it is, and that's the part that was so hard for me to put my
Yeah.
arms around. And it goes back to, bad example, I'm going to the harsh side of, cancers and all these kinds of, but the body can truly heal on so many levels, but we're not really taught that from modern medicine.
Well,
Yeah.
it's because it's not as profitable.
Right.
Now, I totally believe in doctors.
Me too.
Jesus had one on his inner circle. I'm never going to speak bad about
Me
doctors. I believe that they can be instruments of God, and I've had to use them. But I sure would like to figure out how to solve my problems. I'm wondering what I'm eating. So make it personal to the Real Strength podcast host. Let's see, am I the host and you're the
You're good.
moderator? Whatever we are.
Yeah,
Like
that's
that.
good.
Who's the star? Her?
You.
Oh, I thought you pointed her. I was going to go, that's right.
Yeah, no, I am not at all.
Okay, so
are.
will this go where I'm what? I'm the star? Mm-hmm. Okay. The host, the host, Brianna Klingenberg,
Yes.
Pastor Bree, because you do such a good job of shepherding and taking care of people.
Thanks.
Where do we need to go? Do we need to do in and out? Get rid of this, add this, or
I do like that question.
do I
too.
open myself up to my problems, knowing that some of those have come up on previous podcasts?
It would be interesting to do a little dive on PJ. Oh,
So what do you want to do?
we got 20 minutes tops, maybe 15.
Probably he's a working man.
Yeah, we can play Diagnostic Dad.
I like it. Let's do it.
You want to do that,
Let's do it.
or you want to do in and out? We might have to do another one of these.
Okay, I'd be down.
Okay.
Great. Yeah, in and out is a great question. And again, you have to discern, the season of life that you're in. Children need a whole different balance of diet than a full-grown adult does. And you mentioned activity also changes your protein levels. And people want the one-size-fits-all. And the hard answer is you have to know yourself and do some research and be well-studied and well-informed to make the right choice for you. And then also not put that on other people. It doesn't need to be someone else's conviction. You can be in a spot where you feel like the Lord's leading you into more plant-based because you need the clarifying aspects that vegetables can bring to the body. Because you
Good
maybe
call.
need to heal in a way that you wouldn't be able to heal if you had too many animal product food, but then that could change. And so
Yeah.
just being sensitive to shift based off of your journey and your healing. So I
would
like the
say
in and
just
out.
consider this. Just maybe try this or think about this. Pray
Yeah.
about this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the in and out is good because I think there are things we're not thinking about.
Okay, so we're going to do in and out?
We can keep doing in and out.
Okay,
Can we
great.
expand it though?
Make it bigger than just sugar.
Yes.
Well, I was going to do
Clearly-
sweeteners.
okay.
I was going to do sweeteners and proteins and starches and
Yeah, but what's funny to me is you started with sugar and you always defend that you don't have a sweet tooth, but yet you started with sugar and every time we have a meal together, your question is always, so what'd you make for dessert?
okay.
That's
in
awesome.
my defense,
I know you're going to blame mom on this, but
I'm
you'll
not
ask.
gonna blame
and
Mom.
when she doesn't say she has something, you'll be like, oh, okay, I guess there's nothing for dessert. And you're
That's
clearly
once a
defeated.
year that she says that.
Oh, that's not, I mean,
In my defense, we have tried to teach you how to have harmony in marriage when God puts a proton and a neutron
I'm not
together.
trying to indict you. I'm just saying
like
it's
me
funny.
and your mom. And so she loves making sweets, and you know I'm right.
She loves to cook. She does.
She loves to bake.
Loves to bake.
She loves to bake.
She also loves to bake, yes.
And so you probably don't remember, but there was a season when I rejected all of it, and she
Of course
was
I remember.
crushed. So
We had 2 carts. We go through Costco, one for dad, one for the family. We made 2 meals at breakfast and sometimes 2 meals at dinner.
okay, let's get out of that.
Hold
It
on,
was
I want to
fun
hear
for
the
me.
numbers.
It was fun for me. I got to be a part of the whole process. It was a
I've
culinary
been trying
experience.
to get myself healed forever. Just because I started with sugar, you think that means I have a sweet tooth?
I just think it's funny.
I
That's
probably
all.
would have started there too.
Okay, so let's see what have I had today that's converted to sugar? I had about maybe
Well, sugar
1
conversion
ounce,
is a different.
1 ounce of honey in my green tea
Mm-hmm.
with my fermented vegetable freeze dried vegetables. What do you call those? You've seen it.
I don't know.
My fermented vegetable greens. My fermented greens with a little bit of cocoa, a little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of lemon juice in my green tea. And then 2 slices of sourdough with walnut butter that Dawn makes. She grinds up walnuts. And 4 flat eggs with Himalayan sea salt and pepper.
Flat eggs or fried eggs, just in butter. I don't know if that's like a common thing. Every time I say flat eggs, people go, "What's a flat egg?" I was like,
Hard,
just
over hard.
Over hard.
Over hard.
Over medium, over hard,
Cook
yeah.
both sides.
extra smashed.
Cook
I like
both sides. Cooked in Kerrygold butter. So,
Nice.
how'd I do?
Baby steps.
It's a pretty good breakfast. That was breakfast, right?
That was breakfast.
That's a pretty good breakfast.
Yeah, and I haven't had lunch.
But so let me go back to this, and this is the one thing going back to the ask of research. I always ask myself why. Why did you eat what you ate, though?
Okay.
For you,
Okay.
not because maybe Bree told you to eat that.
I ate that
I
because
didn't tell me all of that. Some things.
I ate the green tea. I'm trying to ask God to help things to heal my bladder and prostate.
Okay.
My current issue, and green tea is supposed to do that. The fermented greens came from Bree to try to heal my gut. The cinnamon came from Dr. Love, the neuroscientist. That there's whatever it is, the
Cinnamon's incredible.
Chiron cinnamon, that he says heals your gut and helps your brain. And
Sugar.
I'm trying to do things to be sure my brain stays healed. I don't want Alzheimer's, so I'm just hitting my stride. I'm peaking late in life, so I've got to be able to go a while longer in what God has called me to do. So one of the things I don't want to lose is good cognitive function. So that's why the cinnamon. What else did I say? Lemon juice, because it's supposed to be good for your gut.
Also,
Green tea.
also flushes liver.
Cleanses the liver.
Yeah.
The eggs, they're all natural. The
Cage-free.
cage-free, non-antibiotic.
Free range.
Now it's funny. There's a
Organic.
school of thought that just egg whites. There'll be a school of thought for just the yolks,
Yeah.
and then there's a school of thought for both.
Yeah.
But see, we're going back to Bree's point. There's
Yeah.
everybody can have a debate for different reasons as to why. But love it, keep going because you're eating all natural so far.
Yeah. So my thought is God made the egg with the white and the yolk together, but at the same time, I know that too much yolk can be bad because too much yolk can't be bad.
I disagree. I
That's
think a
old
lot of the
school.
research says the opposite these days. I think
Yeah.
the 80s tried to come up with stuff. So.
Yeah. With
Okay.
the cholesterol being linked to disease that was terminal and all this stuff. But they're finding people who are living the longest actually have kind of higher cholesterol.
Higher cholesterol.
And so they're finding
So-
that good cholesterol that's high is actually a marker for longevity.
So I've had the same. This is I want to get sidetracked. Let's go back to your diet. I've had the same cholesterol number since I was 18, 19 years old when I had to take it to school. And I've taken it every year for work. And they always go, "Oh, you're so high." I go, "I've been the same number for almost 35 years." Not
Yeah.
to the number.
So
Yeah.
along that line, my mom's mom, her cholesterol would come in. Let me think here. Sugar is high at 120. Cholesterol is high over 200. Okay, she would always be over 300. And inevitably, they'd want to put her on thinners and
Yep.
statins and this and that and this and that. And so probably when she was, I don't think she ever tried anything. I think we're too poor to afford it because they
Sure.
were tenant farmers in rural Missouri. And so finally they started hassling her old age. And I distinctly remember maybe one of my aunts or somebody getting on to grandma because she was still using foods that were too fattening. And maybe the yolks, it was something. And they said, "And your cholesterol's too high." Her response, "My blood's just thick. My blood's always been thick. Leave me alone." And she lived to be 98.
There you go. There you go.
not
Cholesterol
healthy
over
for the last 5
300,
years.
and she lived to be 98 years old.
Yeah.
One piece I left out of my mother-in-law's conversation, she was on liver medicine and cholesterol medicine. And then she was on a proton pump inhibitor. And one thing I always tell people, and please don't take this the wrong way if you're using it, if you want to hurt yourself long-term, you be on those three things.
Mm-hmm.
If you get off those three things, it's going to help you. So she got off them. She's like, "I can't get off them. I'm 20-something years." She got off them. She's like, "Nothing's changed. All the tests have gotten better,
Yeah.
because the body starts to adapt
Right.
the other way."
Yeah, because then at a certain point, those medicinal interventions become a hindrance to healing. At one point, they need to have, like, you need the intervention. At some point, like you were talking about doctors and medicine, like there is a point that people need intervention, support, and help.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a point on your healing journey, well, then that will become an obstacle for your body to now
Sure.
kind of fight because it's now in the way of the
Right.
healing that you need. But again, take it up with the Lord.
So we had a conversation. So we're go.
I was going to say, you asked about your breakfast. So going back to In-N-Out, I think everything you said for breakfast is in, except for going back to the why. Why do I eat something? I always ask myself that.
Okay.
And then I also ask myself, what is it for my blood type? Or I go back to my DNA too.
Okay.
Because just, again, go back to eggs. You may be able to have 4 eggs, but the 4 eggs may also be part of your opportunity. Does that make sense? And so everything's different. So again, putting out there in prayer, asking yourself why. We're all creatures of habit. I've got my best friend. He gets up and has the same breakfast every day, 7 days a week. I'm like, you've got to have diversity.
Yep.
You have to have diversity in your
Yep.
food.
Yeah,
So,
it's true. But
Yeah,
I like
the-
how you said it's like making the easy choice, making the healthy choice, but then making the optimal choice. Like, what if you're focusing on your gut health in that particular season? You can make a different choice at every meal to optimize gut health growth and repair. And then if you're making a choice to help your, body grow in muscle and things like that, you can make a protein choice. You can just kind of focus on optimal additions at
Sure.
each meal. That's a good idea.
So the last conversation we had, I got the glythoamine or whatever you were talking about.
glutathione?
Yeah, glutathione.
Okay.
And so I started that a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Every
And that's
time-
your,
every
that's your
time I-
largest antioxidant, if you will, or say one of. So yeah, it's great, and it's in so many things you eat too. But taking it in a good form, and there's a lot of people that do IVs and stuff, probably too much. But I always think small doses of everything you're going to do, because we as a American society, we know one level we go full bore
Yeah.
into something.
Yeah.
So-
I'm guilty as charged.
But you said something, Bree, that just prompted another whole thought. Is on a healing journey, because I think we're talking about a couple of different things here. There's also folks, like you mentioned, allergies and things of that nature, right? Prostate, I heard you say, stuff like that. We are programmed to jump straight to gut health or brain health or whatever the case may be. And I would say if I had to take a couple things I've taken away over the last 25 years is if you work on your immune system first, then your gut second, your endocrine system or your hormone system will follow third, and then the rebuilding stage is fourth. And so many of us are programmed to go straight to the building stage or straight to the hormone stage. But if you got to clean up the immune system, meaning
How?
parasites, bacteria, mold, all that stuff. And it took me the longest time to want to accept that. Going back to why do my allergies keep coming? Why do I keep getting sinus infections? Well, I was going to try and fix my gut health, and then I was trying to build my muscle. I wasn't fixing on the front end what was living inside my body. We're born, 95% human, 5% bacteria. We die 95% bacteria, 5% human.
Yeah.
And so we are hosting so many different things. And so how do you continue to
He liked that one.
how do you clean that up?
And that's a modern issue. That's like
Correct.
the last couple 100 years tops, maybe even shorter than that they've been finding more and more bacteria in elderly people and in deceased people.
Interesting.
Yes.
Might be a little too deep for trying
It's
to
deep.
help
It's deep. That's what it's like.
Trying to help
Let's
our
go back to
audience
our
get-
first thing.
get to
Yeah, sorry.
be able to take some steps.
Yeah.
Because I believe people really do want to have a healthy body.
Yeah.
I don't think they want to worship their body, which you don't, obviously. But they want their body. My phrase, my perspective is, I don't want my body to hold back my spirit. I want to be able to do all God puts on my heart with a clear mind, without jacked up emotions affected by toxic organs,
Yeah.
congested and polluted blood. And your thoughts are triggered quite often by what's going on chemically in your body, et cetera. So a lot of times people are fighting spiritual battles, and it's just, find the work of darkness and the evil aspect, including if it's, influenced by our enemy, and then just fight against that, not realizing that some of it's coming from what you're putting in.
Oh,
Yeah.
a lot of it's coming from what you're putting in.
So-
serotonin, right? Brain health. Everybody always think 90% of it, I believe, sits in your gut. Mm-hmm. And we sit here trying to take stuff for our brain, but it's our gut. To your point, now we're dealing
Yeah.
with demons or dark. But really, it's because we ate a bad burger and
Yeah.
chocolate shake 2 nights before.
Yep.
Yeah. And the
And-
body keeps a score. Like, it has to manage those poor choices that we make unknowingly. Whether it's done in ignorance or it's done with intention or it's done out of fear that people make those decisions, the body does then have to react and recover and process and heal. And that compounding effect is what really gets people behind.
Okay. So let's keep doing in and out. I think that's going to help people the
Sure.
most.
Let's go.
Yeah, raw dairy.
Raw dairy, if it's truly raw dairy, yes, love it. Matter of fact, going back to your gut health, goat kefir. If you could have goat kefir 7 days a week, why goats? Going back to the Bible, goats are more looked at in a positive way than cows. Digestive tract.
Yes.
So is it? What are you laughing at?
I'm sorry, I can't help but smile. I just finished the last little bit of kefir that I had. You said kefir? Kefir?
Yeah, everybody probably pronounces it different, but and then I do goat. Like I said, goat to me that's the key. But going back to raw milk, let's go back to raw milk.
It's in. Yeah.
So would you eat cheese?
Raw cheese?
I'm doing cheese. Would you eat any type of cheese for you?
The only cheese that I eat that doesn't immediately cause a nasal reaction is the pure mozzarella, the least manipulated mozzarella.
Okay.
And I'm not sure what's different about that. I'm still not sure why sourdough bread works for me and no other bread.
Usually, I've read different things on sourdough. Sometimes it's gluten free. I've seen schools of thought say it is, and some that's not. I have not dove deep enough because I've pretty much given up 99% of breads. So
I can
Okay,
tell you a little
which
bit more
is
about
hard.
that later.
So let's go in and out on starches then. So what do you
we're
do?
going back to cheeses. Let me finish that. 95% of cheeses, no go, because they're processed
Yeah,
and
they're
they're man made. If you can get cheese in its purest form, raw, if you will, it's really good for you.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't have as much access to it as a society anymore.
Yeah.
So
it's
where
getting
do
a
I-
little bit better, but
Where do I get goat kefir?
So if you wanted to just start the basics, because I always tell people, let's start at first base, right? Let's not go for the home run. You can get, I think Red Mill is the name of the company, and they're at Central Market, Whole Foods, Sprouts,
Mm-hmm.
but Red Mill, and that's a store-bought one. But then you can obviously go to a farmer's market of some sort
Mm-hmm.
and have it delivered. to your
Okay,
house
and
as
so that'll help my immune system.
well. Help your gut health,
Okay,
which
so
is going to help
gut.
your immune system.
So you said immune's first.
Immune's first, but that what I just gave you was gut.
Mm-hmm.
That was 2.
Okay.
But you can work on them hand in hand.
Yeah. So I need some help because I'm. What?
Okay.
I'm just so glad we're having this conversation.
You have picked up your mom's smirk smile.
Yes, it's handy.
I'm smiling, but I've also my face is telling you I'm glad you're catching this point, Dad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I call it a smirk smile.
So what are your starches? What are your go-to starches?
Red potatoes,
Good.
brown rice.
Good.
Um,
Even though there's schools of thought out there that white rice is better, but keep going.
no kidding.
Mm-hmm. You're talking about the making it a resistant starch by cooking it in oil and chilling it.
And letting it chill. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you eat your potatoes colder, yep, it's going to
Yeah.
feed your prebiotic, your gut health. Going back to gut health.
Yeah.
All right, so I bet my brown rice is probably bad then.
No, it's not
No, there's-
bad.
Yeah.
It's not
But
bad.
it's the one from Costco. It's the all natural blah 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 blah. But it comes in the little plastic bowl, sealed top. You kind of peel the top back and microwave it for a minute 30. I didn't even think about the plastic.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that now we again, another whole podcast. The chemicals in our society is really what we're dealing with. That's the issues. Like that is where so many things come from. So I go back to my childhood. TV dinners, microwaved, tin, plastic melting. Like I never thought about it. It's just what you did. But nowadays it's not good.
Right. They say the average person eats a credit card worth of plastic every month or week.
I've heard week. Well, it depends, I guess, on your lifestyle, to be frank with you.
Man.
Just in the foods and the plastics in your body is just really hard. Like the whole compounding effect, it's really hard on your body to deal with that. You know, if you, like you said, jump ahead from your skipping immune system and gut health and all that to building, you can't really build with a body that's still processing these toxins that's offending its
Correct.
That's probably
immune
what's
system.
going on with me.
But I think that's what's going on with most of us. So what happens then? You give up. Most Americans will give up. People, not Americans, will give up because oh, it's not working. It is working. It's just a journey. If it took you 40, 50 years to get your body that way, it's going to take several years to get it cleaned up.
Yeah.
That's what the
So
hard
let's
part
do
is.
meats. Let's do In-N-Out on meats.
Yeah.
Fish.
Yes.
But which ones?
Biblical pattern.
Or biblical pattern.
Okay.
Yes.
Red meat.
Love it.
Okay.
But mostly, again, venison, elk, cow, depending, but also depends. It has to be natural. I mean, you want to get it from grass-fed, farmer, organic.
Because
Do
the
you do-
antibiotics make it through the meat
Correct.
right into your body, and
That's the
then
thing
it
is
checks with your immune system.
They have antibiotics in everything now.
Yeah.
I'm talking like everything from cheeses to like you name a product, there's probably an antibiotic in it.
Yeah, I think that's hurting us.
Do you do nose to tail on that?
Getting better at it.
Okay.
And here's part of the journey.
Translate.
My wife.
Nose to tail. Translate, please.
Nose to tail is eating all parts of the animal. So, like, not just the typical cuts of meat that people offer, but consuming as much nose to tail, every aspect.
So I have liver smoothies in the morning.
Yeah.
My wife would never have a liver smoothie. She's not going to cross that barrier for me. Whereas for me, I'm going to do heart, liver, whatever the case may be,
Yeah.
as I've got.
From cow.
Yeah.
From cow mostly. It's easier.
Mm-hmm.
And then I figured out different ways to do it. So I grind it up, actually. Sorry, probably too much information in my smoothies. And then I blend it. You can't even taste it, and it's great.
Yeah.
I'm getting my liver source, and
Yeah.
I have friends who will chop it up while it's fresh and freeze it in little vitamin cubes.
that's pretty
Swallow their raw liver like a vitamin.
Interesting.
I take it as a vitamin as well.
Going back to my grandparents, my mom's parents, tenant farmers, poor, couldn't afford to buy anything commercialized, so it was all living off the land. And my grandpa was close to a chain smoker. He died at 82. My grandma lived to be 98. And I wondered many times, how'd that happen? Well, they ate all natural meats. They ate from the garden. They milked cows and goats and drank the raw cow's milk. I remember them bringing it in, and it just strained through a sheet, through a screen, and then through a sheet, and then through another sheet.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then they just take it and pour it into our cups there at the table, and it was still warm.
The other thing, they weren't dealing with EMF, right? They
Yeah.
were grounding. Grounding is like they were out, their hands were in the dirt and soil
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
So positive ions, negative ions. They were doing all those sorts of things that
Yeah.
we as a society now are indoors behind computers.
Yep.
Right? It's a different lifestyle.
Yeah. Just even the physical engagement of working their own garden. How many people do you know even know how to work a garden?
No.
So that in and of itself, just a lifestyle to keep up that food.
Well, even beekeeping. Your brothers are getting into beekeeping now, and
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I was raised
It's
by a
exciting.
beekeeper. I can tell you what you need to know.
Yeah.
We just haven't gotten into it. We need to wrap this up. So
We sure do.
it'd be too long to do in and out and everything else.
Yeah, we can just do like a little final bit of wisdom. Any last like parting tip, anything you'd want anyone listening to this podcast to take away?
Good question. I would say continue to be a lifelong learner. Don't give up if things seem tough or it's going to take a while. I would tell you my healing journey, because I was pretty sick, right? I got to the point of, God, is this, do I need to be here kind of a thing, right?
Ooh.
And so, but here I am 25 years later. I've got a great spouse. Good. She's incredible. And so she's been along for the journey. So I think it's got to be a family thing, if you're part of a family, if you will. So my wife is my rock. We made the kids be a part of the journey. They probably days love us for that, other days not so much. But the biggest one of the biggest things for me as far as a mindset, and I didn't think about it until my parents were ailing and my mom passed away a couple years ago, was I owe it to my community. I owe it to my coworkers. I owe it to my kids to be the best version of myself so I can help and be a
good.
servant leader.
That's very
right?
good.
Really good.
And I always felt like, not in a selfish way, to be a servant leader, I feel like I have to be there. And I was taking care of my mom for the last 10 years of her life, and nothing, God bless her, she was awesome. I miss her to death. But I just thought to myself, I always want to tell her, could we just eat something good or do and I feel like I owe it to my kids and I owe it to my wife to be the best version of myself I can be.
That's
now,
very good.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we'll see, but trying.
So that would be a great closer, because that's real strength right there.
Oh yeah.
So real strength is to do, which one am I supposed to be at, James? That one? Real strength is to do whatever you need to do to be the best you can be for the Lord, for the people around you, and for yourself.
Yeah.
And that just hit the greatest commandment in the second one, which is like it. Love the Lord your God with your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as you love yourself.
Yeah.
Just hit all three.
Yeah.
So real strength is do the best for you can do, not just for yourself, for others, and for God.
That's it.
Love it.
Peace out.
Thank
Yeah.
you for having me.
See ya.
Thanks for joining us on the Real Strength Podcast. Pray that you were encouraged. If you would be so kind as to share, like, comment, or subscribe, it would mean the world to me. Look forward to seeing you on the next Real Strength Podcast.